Greetings, lord, ladies and everything in between. Today, we're continuing my series on Star Wars Battlefront 3. Today, I wanted to talk about one of the best soldiers in the Grand Army of the Republic, Captain Rex, and the progenitor of all clones himself, Jango Fett. And as I said in the last video, yes, I will be using Star Wars Battlefront 2 rulings when it comes to these heroes and villains and the infantry and whatnot, because there currently is no Star Wars Battlefront 3. So Star Wars Battlefront 2 is the best option. So with that, let's start off with Captain Rex. Now, for his base health, I think he should have 650, as he does wear much more armor than most other blaster heroes, but isn't quite a lightsaber hero level. I think his max regen should be 200, and because he has no force augmentations, his max jump will be limited to 2 meters, as that is pretty much the standard jump for pretty much all non-force wielding characters, except for Grievous. And he would have a maximum of 2 dodges. In the weapons division, he'll be quite a unique character, as I believe he'll be the first ever dual-wielding blast hero, as he will use his iconic DC-17 hand blasters. Now, when it comes to how he would fire them, I imagine that essentially he would fire them both pretty much one after the other, even if you press the trigger button really quickly. Essentially, it will be 2 shots for the price of 1 trigger. So when it comes to a lot of his stats, essentially double them for what I'm saying. And he would be one of the few characters who you basically will continue firing as long as you hold down the trigger button, unlike Han or Leia. The damage for the blaster will start off at 28, then in 20 meters it will start dropping until it gets to 40 meters, in which case it would have dropped to 24 damage points. And combined, as I said, these shots will be pretty much one after the other. They'll start off at 56 and drop to 48. Finally, he would have a rate of fire of 25 RPM, rounds per minute. That would be per blaster, so combined he would have a 500 RPM, which makes him one of the quicker characters in the game, which I think, yeah, makes sense. He's using 2 blasters at the same time, so why the hell not? Kind of a lower damage to offset that quicker fire rate. And with that out of the way, let's move on to his abilities. The first ability I see him having would be a droid popper. Basically, Rex throws a droid popper that will unleash an EMP wave that will stun all enemies for 7 seconds and will also activate the overheating cycle on their blasters. So basically, the opponents then have to spend time reloading the blasters before they can use them again. So yeah, they're pretty wonderful for about almost 10 seconds there. It would have a radius of 15 meters with a cooldown of 17 seconds. His second ability I have dubbed For Our Brothers. This will allow Rex to grant nearby allies a weapon boost and damage reduction. The closer the ally is to Rex, the higher the benefit will be. The entire radius of this aura would be 20 meters, and the high bonus effect activates within 5 meters. This boost in the 5 meter radius will go up to 100%, so basically dealing double damage, and anything out of that 5 meters will go down to 50%. And the damage reduction would be a maximum of 35%, but drop down to 10% again if you want the further edge of this ability. So yeah, you may want to stick close to Rex. You may survive, said every clone in the series, apart from those with names, ironically. But not only that, Rex will also be able to switch to either a DC-15 carbine or rifle. I wasn't quite sure. I believe we've seen him use both of these weapons throughout the Clone Wars, so I'm leaving it up to you guys. What do you think? Do you think he should have the carbine or the rifle? Personally, I'm leaning a bit more towards the carbine, as he did get some 6 shots in the episode Rookies, but again, what do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section down below. Now, this blaster will essentially have a much slower firing rate at 400 RPM, but you get increased damage to 80 hit points. Yeah, this is a pretty decent ability, so I think its duration should be around 20 seconds, so you are given a boost and switching weapon for a decent amount of time, but its cooldown will be set at 23 seconds. So yeah, use it wisely, as you've got to go a long time without it. And of course, you want to make sure that all your brothers remain in top performance on the field, don't you? And for our final ability, I have dubbed it Dual Lock. This will activate a 30 meter radius around Rex. Essentially, any enemies who enter this radius, Rex will automatically lock onto, and once the player gives the command, he will basically shoot them and they cannot miss the moment they step into this radius. And I think this would be an absolutely sick way to see some of those trick shots that we see him do in early season Clone Wars with his blasters. Honestly, some of those shots were sick, and I'm pretty sure sometimes he may have been a Jedi with the fact he was able to see enemies pretty much coming up behind him at times. Generally, how did he tell that tower was behind him? Apart from the noise it made, obviously. Okay, maybe that was it, but you know. This ability will have a duration of 15 seconds. Yes, it is incredibly powerful, as you are somewhat invulnerable in that small radius, and you will get an icon of how many enemies are in this radius with you. But given this power, I'm giving it a 35-second cooldown. Again, any map that you are close together with someone like the Republic Venator, you are essentially an invulnerable character here. Maybe on Felucia you may struggle a bit more, but hey, you can't be perfect everywhere. And considering the fact he's a clone, Rex has actually got a high skin potential. First one I got is his iconic Phase 1 501st look, great armour. Then it would be his Phase 2 and Phase 1 hybridised armour, again, sick look. Both of these looks will be able to have helmetless variants as well. Other skins I think he would have would be his Zygerian disguise, the Onderon disguise, the Bad Batch where you have that like cloak thing which looked pretty cool. His Rebel civilian look at in Rebels where he lets off go a little bit. And finally would be his Battle of Endor look, which I love how easy it is for Star Wars to retcon things and make it officially canon. Like, could you name any other series where a movie that came out long before a show did decides to rename a character so it fits better in the lore? Jeez, I cannot think of any other show that does that.
Roger.
In my book, experience outranks everything.
I'm no Jedi.
Good luck finding anyone to do it.
If someone comes to our home, they better be carrying a big blaster.
Come on! Move it like a soldier! Like a real soldier!
Now, moving on to the progenitor of all clones, the headless Mandalorian himself, Jango Fett. Jango would have pretty much the same base health as Rex, 650, because he is wearing armour, max regen, 200, and his jump, if you don't activate the jetpack, would only be a 2, matching other characters, but it can be augmented by his jetpack, very similar to his son Boba, going straight up. He would have 2 dodges, and his weapon would be his West Star 34 blaster pistols. Now, I'm not sure if he should be a dual wielder or have a single blaster. This is purely aesthetic, it wouldn't really change his stats, just half them applied to both blasters rather than just one. So, again, what do you guys think? Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Should he be a dual wielder or just have a single blaster? Again, proof of both of these throughout the film. The damage for the blaster will start at 60 and drop to 56. Half them, if you want him to be a dual wielder, rate of fire will be 400. Much lower than Rex, but you get much more damage, so balances out a bit more. And his range, since he is an aerial, I thought it should be slightly increased. The distance to damage is reduced, so I think it should start at 25 meters and the end of drop off will be 45 meters. So 60 until he's 25 meters away. Then we'll drop to 56 in a 45 meters and beyond. His first ability would be, let's be honest, one of the most effective weapons we've seen in Star Wars besides the lightsaber, the MK1 Saber Dart. This will be where Jango fires a single dart at an enemy, which over the course of 3 seconds will deal 150 damage. So yes, most infantry, if they get hit by this, are insta-killed except for heavies, and this damage will go across the board, so yes, it deals 150 damage to hero characters. But since the ability is so powerful, I thought the best way to kind of handle this would have its cooldown be high, so I've set the cooldown at 47 seconds. So yes, be very mindful when you use it, don't just come across a high number of enemies, fire the Saber Dart, hope you get back in time. I don't think you will. And you may have kind of Boba'd yourself in the situation. Speaking of Boba, much like his son, yes, Jango will have a jetpack ability. Unlike Boba, who seems to be more built for height, I think Jango will be built a bit more for speed and power. Along with that, I think Jango should have a significantly more fuel than Boba, since half the time it felt like as if you were flying on scraps. I mean, generally, did he forget to refuel that thing before he went into battle? The refueling rate will be lower than Boba's, set at 7.5% per second. As I said previously, his consumption rate would be lower, so the fuel is more efficient, so therefore there needs to be a way to make sure that it's a bit more balanced out, and similar to Boba, you will be able to still fly when it's refueling. The way I could believe the jetpack working is essentially you go flying forwards when you push the trigger down, and if you want to stop, you just hold the movement trigger back. This will cause him to stop and be able to fire like normal. And for his third ability, this will be his flamethrower. Now, this is obvious, the flamethrower on his left arm activates, dealing damage to enemies in front of him. The duration is 7 seconds, and the total damage, if the opponent doesn't move out the way in time, which I'm not sure why he wouldn't, but who knows, might be Anakin or Mustafar, the total damage would be 250, again, if you stay in the flames the entire time. But I do believe that hurts quite a bit. Let's just ask Anakin real quickly. Is he okay? Is he okay, Annie? And his final ability, I think, should be the jet rocket. Now, the way you would activate this ability is that it will kind of override your aim feature. And it said it will drop the antenna on the side of his helmet, bringing up the target screen, select one opponent or multiple or just an area, and it would fire the rocket that's on the top of his pack. But once this is fired, you'll be able to almost like normally zoom in with your blasters after it's on cooldown. The damage would be 250 in a concentrated area, and the cooldown would be 57 seconds. Jango wouldn't really have that many skins. He would have the Mandalorian armor, he could have that helmetless, let's hope he doesn't have it headless. And the second one would be his kind of like, I guess it could be his Camino casual wear, but I'm not quite sure how he's going to get all that equipment into what are essentially just a bunch of robes. That would be almost Sidious levels of concealment, literally. He was in a room full of Jedi, they didn't be able to sense him.
Sam, there can be no mistakes this time.
I'm just a simple man trying to make my way in the universe.
Don't move, Jedi.
He doesn't seem to take a hint, this guy.
They'll do their job well. I'll guarantee that.
Now, similar to what I did in my Ventress and Ahsoka video, I also thought that there should be some planets added with these two characters. For these two, I've added quite a few more. The first one would be Unbara. This was quite significant to Rex. The second would be Lola Sayu, where the Citadel was held. The third would be where the end of the Zygerian arc was, Cordova. And the final planet would be Ringo Vinda. But that doesn't mean I think that's where these characters should end. I think there should be new parts of the planets explored. For example, I think Camino should have a training room added, like we saw in season 3 of the Clone Wars with the Clone Cadets. That will be pretty sick to play through, and finally be able to put those training skins for droids to good use. And the second and final, I think, should be the, again, I really hope I say this right, Petrarchy Arena that we saw on Geonosis in Attack of the Clones. Again, I hope I say that right, but it's where Obi-Wan, Padme and Anakin were going to get. And with that, that covers it. Do you agree with my opinions I had for Rex and Jango and the planets? Let me know in the comment section down below. And if you think I deserve it, please leave a like in this video. And if you want to hear from me again, subscribe to the channel. And with that, goodbye.